So, what do you want to talk about today, Amir?
The same thing we talk about every day, Eric. Platforms like Airbnb and Verbo making the rich richer and the poor poorer, as if I didn't have enough to worry about, like a black hole swallowing the universe. And I don't get to confront my dad.
So here we go.
Did you call me fat?
I did.
Okay, that's not nice.
Is that what's wrong with that?
Oh, nothing. I just don't think I'm fat.
What do you think you are? What would you describe yourself
Medium build, slight athletics, athletic build.
as? You did, man. You couldn't even figure it out there.
I'm working on it.
Oh, that's
The
a great
body
way
dysmorphia is real.
That's a great way to start. Welcome to the living room, my American. That's Amir with his body dysmorphia. Do you have body dysmorphia?
I have really bad body
Oh
dysmorphia.
no, should I
Like,
not
it's been
make fun of it?
crippling. Oh, no.
Okay.
I think I'm at a point now in
that's
my
serious.
life where I think I've got a good grip on it, but I didn't for the longest time.
Wow, what was the struggle that you became or came with it? Like, how did it affect you?
Well, it started when I was a kid, and I was a really chubby kid. And I think sometimes when I look in the mirror, I
Mhm.
still see that chubby kid that used to be teased for being, a little pudgy maybe.
Yeah. So, we'll go right into it then. Is therapy
Oh.
helping you with situations like this? I know it's new. Following along with Amir, recently he had the worst year of his life where he cried the most in 2023. And he decided that therapy is going to be help to build the tools to put in the tool belt to get better at handling these situations so he can still cry, but in a healthy way, not sitting. What was it? You were sitting on the blanket just sobbing?
Yeah, there's a song by Led Zeppelin called Since I've Been Loving You that I played for you. And at one point he talks about how his tears felt like rain. That's how it felt, just like uncontrollable. But yeah, as you mentioned, I've been going to therapy, and it has been helping actually a little bit. Like I feel more confident in general. But yeah, the last session, which was this previous week, was a tough one.
Okay, how so?
Well, so there's this thing that I've been talking to people, or one person in particular, about, and
Who?
a special someone.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. Okay, cool. Yeah.
And so this is a weird personal story. Hopefully no one gets emotional about this, but when I was a kid, up until I was 12 years old, I didn't have a bedroom. And I basically slept on top of a sleeping bag on my parents' bedroom floor for the first 12 years of my life after, getting out of a crib. I also
Right.
shared a bed with them for a portion of those years.
Like older, like what when you were sharing the bed, how old were you?
Probably like three or four.
Okay, so
still
not old, but
kind of normalish time.
Kind of, but still, it's the transition time where it should be, out of your own room.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
speaking of
yeah.
transition, that's when I transitioned to the floor.
Okay.
And it was just kind of normalized. I was like, okay, no big deal. But then over the last year as well, I'm like, wait, that was kind of messed up.
Okay.
And I brought that up to my therapist.
Yeah.
And she referred to it as a form of abuse. So hearing that was pretty profound and tough. I'm like, oh, I never thought about it connected to that word.
Oh, isn't that weird? I've experienced something not the same but similar with being without a home because growing up, my mom lost her job. She worked in the school system for she's 9,000 years old, so for 50 years. And she lost her job in the school system and she became a camp cook.
Oh.
And when she became a camp cook, she would go away to work for 2 weeks and come back for a week. And so during those 2 weeks, I would just skip around from couch to couch. And then eventually she lost the house because when she would come back for the week, I would go home and stay with her. But eventually she lost the house and she lived in a trailer and I was without a home. And I stay again on couches at friends. I always had a place to stay, but I ended up on a piss-stained mattress at a friend of hers house. And I never thought of it as homelessness until, similar to your experience, Amir, when I just being on the radio and talking to professionals and I sharing my story, and they look at me and be like, dude, you were homeless.
That's literally homeless.
Yeah. And it's like, I never put that together until that point. So I understand how profound that can be and how it can affect you. And it's deep, man. It cuts deep.
It's true. And yeah, that's a great comparison. And we actually kind of touched on it in the episode where we talked about homelessness. Yeah, people that are couch surfing, basically anyone who doesn't have a place where they pay rent,
Yeah.
You're homeless. You're literally homeless.
Yeah.
Because you literally don't have a home. Couch surfing is not your home.
No.
I think sometimes we confuse maybe shelter with home.
Good one. Perfect. Yeah, you're exactly right. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't want to, it's part for me too. I don't want to be a burden, and I don't want to have people feel sorry for me. But it's not feeling sorry. They just care for me. But that's why, I would always downplay it. I just jumped around from couch to couch.
That's been an issue for me in relationships too. Speaking of, therapy is that idea of being a burden on somebody else. And I think a lot of that does stem from like childhood to some degree, like the feeling of like as a kid to your parents, you're a burden of some type. But
well, I was an accident, and I know that.
I was an accident too.
Oh my God. So knowing that.
2 accidents. Maybe we should change the name of the show to 2 accidents.
2 accidents waiting to happen.
Oh,
that's But I wonder if I don't wonder. I know that ties into it too, right? Knowing that I am a burden, or I was because I was at one point to my mom, because she had some postpartum depression. I'm pretty sure. And we've talked about this sort of thing, and I've laid it out for my mom and said, "Look, you screwed up." And since that day, our relationship's gone nothing but better.
Well, even relating it back to the sleeping bag thing, like that sort of confirms to me that I'm an accident, because clearly I wasn't planned for not having a room for 12 years.
Yeah. Well, my dad ran away too when I was born. That's how much of an accident I was.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Something that I've learned in therapy from my multiple visits, and so when's your next really quick? When's your next session?
That'll be, so I'm doing it every 2 weeks. So this one was last week, so another 2 weeks.
Another 2 weeks. Okay, so something that I've been learning, and it's kind of relates to is just building confidence. And getting confidence through therapy and using the tools.
Yeah.
And up until even now, I'm 42 years old, and I can't, I can hang out with girls and have them over for dinner and Netflix and chill. That's not an issue for me. But when it comes to talking to women and ones that I like, I have this inability to do it. I'm a child, and I just turned into this little child at 42 years old. I can't ask a girl out, but because of therapy, it's helped me build confidence. And I asked a girl out yesterday.
Wow, lucky lady.
Who we know each other for a while. She's a nurse that works at VGH, and she is just cool. And I was like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to ask her out. And you know what? Okay, you know what else is a trip, though? Why else this is a trip? Is that because I tweeted out, they asked me, first of all, they asked me if they wanted to hang out.
Yeah.
Just because we've been hanging out a couple times just as friends. And we've been doing things, and, we went for a picnic and we did things together, and we went to some concerts and things like that. And so it was we're hanging out. And she had asked me to hang out in a couple weeks. And I was like, yeah, sure. And right after that, I tweeted out, I'm 42 years old, and I still can't ask a girl I like out. And you know who responded?
The girl?
She did. She's like, me too. Same thing.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, whoa. And then so I liked it. And she's like, and in her tweet, she's like, well, maybe you should use Chat GTP or an AI to,
formulate
a thing.
A proposal.
And she did it, and she tweeted it. And she's like, oh my God, check this out. And I was like, oh wow, that's really good, Chat GTP. And then so my thing was, okay, so it's no Chat GTP, but here's how I feel. You give me feelings in my pants, and I want to hang out. I didn't say that, but I said it more eloquently. And yeah, she's like, well, that'd be interesting. I'm interested in that. And then we got into it.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, but that was her response. I am interested in that. Was her response.
There's also, though, with that, it's cool that she said she has the same problem, but ladies can correct us if we're wrong. But I feel like there's a societal expectation for the guy to be the one to be that person.
Yes.
A girl can't. I'm sure there's a lot of girls out there who have asked their guys out, but that's not the classic way for things to be, right? It's always the pressure is kind of put on the guy. To be honest,
I've been told by women that I'm friends with and knew that they liked me and wanted to date me.
Why didn't you do anything,
and it's like, you never asked me out, so we never dated. It's like, why don't you ask me out?
Yeah, I didn't know you liked me. I thought
you gotta
you thought I was a loser. You said that to me yesterday.
Right.
You said you're a total loser. That's just because I like you, Eric.
What is this, junior high? Are you gonna punch my shoulder?
Damn mixed signals.
Goodness.
Man. Okay, but so you have a prospective date.
Well,
coming up.
I need, but the response is interesting as well. Not only what happened in the interaction, but she's very sweet. She's like, "Oh, I'm interested," and she she lays some things out for me that was really nice to know, and it was very healthy in the communication. And then she's like, but it was kind of like the way she said it was kind of wordy and weird. And I was like, okay, whatever. It's Saturday night. Maybe she had a few drinks. And then it's like, and then she responds back to the chat GTP. She's like, oh, maybe I should have used chat GTP because I'm on mushrooms. And I don't know if that would have made a lot of sense. So,
but it did.
And I was like, and that's what I responded. I was like, actually, it made perfect sense. And I totally understand. And I'm not pushing and I'm not in any rush. I just wanted to let you know how I feel. And we can chat when we chat.
That brings up an interesting topic, though, about like, yeah, people communicating with you, say, when they are under the influence. Like, does the fact that she was on mushrooms when she sent you this message change her intentions? Like, if she wasn't on mushrooms, would she maybe not have responded that way?
Well, I don't know, but I think so.
I think from my experience, I think mushrooms almost makes you more honest.
Yes.
So I think you're probably on the right path here.
I think so too. But and it's mushrooms too, and mushrooms are not they're mushrooms. If it was like another drug or
like alcohol, even
copious amounts of alcohol, then that would be even more telling. But usually when you're doing that, you're a little too chatty, and and we ended it like, and it wasn't any carrying on or anything, so it felt genuine. And so, but your thought, like, is it like my kind of question is like, I'm wondering in my curiosity, because I like this person, did I like change her trip, and did she like think about me, or did I affect her in some way, and was it negative or was it positive? Like, did I give movement in her pants?
Interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of where I went.
If you're on mushrooms, movement in your pants can mean a whole lot of things.
Yeah, it's probably not gonna. There's no movement in pants on mushrooms. Let's be honest. And again too, and also when you're on mushrooms, you don't usually drink, so there probably wasn't a lot of alcohol involved.
But you're feeling optimistic about this.
I am. Yeah. I am.
I think you should.
I am. She said she's interested in it, and she was totally honest in what she said, which was a very vulnerable thing, which is very, very tough to do and open, right?
So what that kind of means, though, is you have now gotten over your fear of asking girls out, maybe to some degree.
To some degree. Are you kidding me? Yeah, no.
I don't know. You've told me some other stories about, things.
Again, that's just like, hey, yo, you are really hot, and that's basically all I'm focusing on.
I couldn't even do that.
Yeah, I'm glad I can do that. It just happened one day.
Yeah.
I just walked up to a girl, like, and I wasn't even polite about it. I was kind of rude. I was like, basically like, just give me your number. That's all I said to her. And she's like, and she looked at me funny and was like, okay. And she gave it to me. That was it. It was like, oh, wow, this works.
But for me, it's never worked out the way it does. And like,
how has it worked out for you?
Romantic comedies and stuff like that. For me, it's always been a pure disaster. Utter disaster.
Like, do you have any like prime examples or ones that really stuck with you?
We never talked about the coffee shop lady, did we?
No, but I have a coffee here I will enjoy while you tell the story.
So there was this time where I had a crush on someone that worked at a coffee shop. I was like in my early 20s. I'd never done what we were talking about our fears of doing. I'd never approach a girl. I'm like, hey, you want to go out? This girl was really pretty, and I had left. There was a newspaper outside on the sidewalk on like the patio table, and I left my number on the table. We had some minor interactions as a barista and a customer. Nothing there. And so I wrote my number on this newspaper outside on a patio table because I think she was cleaning up or something. And I think I had a note to her or something too. And not thinking that she would see my number and actually like communicate with me. Sometime later that night, I think, I get a text.
Oh.
So it worked. The interaction happened.
Dang.
And we exchanged some texts. And I think she had this impression that I was somebody she already knew.
Oh, really?
Like it was somebody that she already knew that had left her a message. Like, oh, this is this guy.
Right, that's what I was going to get. Okay, yeah.
And so I think I decided the next day after work to go by and like see if I was the guy she was expecting. Because again, we had some minor interaction. I was like, oh, maybe she has a crush on me too. So after work comes, I visit the coffee shop, and I walk up and she's there at the till, and I say...
Oh, how are you feeling? Like, how are the butter?
I'm already dead.
Is it like the poop and the puke at the same time?
It's everywhere. I'm wearing a white shirt to work that's now covered in vomit, and I walk in. Okay. And again, she had this impression that I was already somebody that she knew.
Yeah.
So my words were, poor choice of words. I ask her, am I who you were expecting? To which she obviously responds, no.
No.
At that point, because I'm so confident that I am the person she's expecting, I kind of freeze. I have no words.
You didn't practice for the. You were so confident. You did. Oh my god.
No backup plan.
Oh,
no
I love
backup
this.
plan.
I love it. Yeah.
And I put my finger up like this. I can go like one moment. I don't say any words. I just go like that. and I walk to the washroom.
This isn't real.
This is real.
Stop it.
I walk to the washroom because I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah, you are.
Never been this embarrassed in my life.
No.
I'm in the washroom now. Okay, there's a way out of this, Amir. There's a way out of this.
No, there isn't.
There has to be.
Okay.
I'm in there for about probably 5 minutes, but it was actually probably 20. I didn't figure out a way out of it. And I walked back up to the front counter and I just waved. I didn't even say anything. I just waved and I walked out.
Oh. So any writers out there that are listening or what, take this scenario and put it into a movie because that's that's a scene.
Poor Shane. Do you have any favorite like romantic movies?
Romantic movies?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's maybe more of a girl thing.
No, it's not.
Rom-coms,
No, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I don't like gendering movies. Let's not gender movies.
That's a good point.
But I always go to like 50 First Dates for a date movie. I enjoy that Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore flick. I think it's hard. It's warm. It's endearing. It's it's not too hardcore Adam Sandler.
I feel
like some of those movies get.
Oh, for sure.
But it's still hardcore enough that it's pretty damn funny.
I feel the same way about The Wedding Singer, which is another Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore movie.
Good one. Yeah, great example.
One that's sort of on the opposite end that kind of left an impression on me is Jim Carrey, Kate Winslet in a movie called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah, I've seen. I have just a vague memory of bits and pieces of this movie. I don't think I've seen the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched it, but it's just a really it's still got Jim Carrey, at his Jim Carreyest. Is it too Jim Carrey or is it good Jim Carrey?
It's so
there's
good Jim Carrey's so good.
There's a story about the director, I believe Michael Gondry and Jim Carrey having a conversation about this movie before they started filming.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim Carrey had just gotten out of a breakup.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it worked.
So they're sitting at this table, and Michael Gondry's telling an interviewer how distraught and heartbroken Jim Carrey looks. And instead of comforting Jim Carrey, he basically tells him not to stop feeling that way, to keep that heartbreak locked in.
Yeah.
For the sake of the role.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, you can think of that as like a bit of a dick move, but as an artist, that makes total sense to me.
That's the torture that's the artist torture that you always hear about. That's it right there. Yeah.
And you see it in this movie. Jim Carrey looks completely depressed this entire movie. It's probably the most subdued you'll ever see Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
I think he got nominated. I think he should have maybe not won, but he was dynamite in this movie. But yeah, that movie really left an impression on me because it reminded me of like a realistic take on relationships, where a lot of romantic comedies are kind of fantastical, kind of fairy tale ish, whereas this one was more realistic. Are there any like movies or TV shows that have really left an impression on you over time?
Yeah, for a similar reason, Fleabag.
Oh, Fleabag. That's a newer show, right?
Yes, it is. It's Phoebe. I have it written down here. Phoebe Waller. Dang, I can't remember it. I thought I wrote it down, but I don't. So, but it's based on a play, and I believe she adapted it to TV. But it's about a woman who basically, it's like awkward entrances. Like when a dog comes running into a scene and it's just so awkward and they don't know where through. They just make this scene. Like, to me, she just loves so hard and so much that she doesn't know how to do it right.
Oh.
And so she puts all these loves into these situations. She's just she sleeps with all these men. And there's no judgment there, but it's, as a society looks at it, it's like, whoa,
sure.
You're sleeping with a lot of men.
Yeah.
And in the end, it's only 2 seasons long. And in the end,
spoiler alert,
the love story in the second season doesn't end as you think it should.
Oh.
It doesn't. It's not a happy ending. And the ending is just so bloody beautiful because in it they break the fourth wall. And there's this final scene where she breaks it and it's like it touches you. And also there's a song that's playing called This Feeling by the Alabama Shakes.
Oh.
And it's even more stuck with me than the show did. But that show, because it's not a traditional love story as it is in Hollywood, it is a realistic traditional love story, though, as in it's heartbreak at the end, because that's very realistic, with 56% of marriages ending in divorce.
I love what you're saying there, though, about shows or whatever that don't follow the typical. It's not a happy ending.
Yep.
There's actually a video game that I've been playing with my girlfriend called The Last of Us 2. It's a sequel to like The Last of Us 1, obviously, which there was just an HBO show about. But what they did in the second one is they took one of the main characters of the first game, a beloved character,
Okay.
and in the second game, really early on, he's brutally murdered.
Okay.
You're controlling this person. Maybe you think this is who the game's about. Wiped out right away.
Oh, I love that.
And there's a lot of people that came at the creators of this game and called them out because, again, you're like destroying this beloved character. But
that's the story, yo.
yeah, and I love people that take risks like that.
Oh.
You know, just throw it on its face. Who
Yep.
cares? Let's do something new with it.
There's actually a recent Netflix cartoon. I can't remember. Netflix is doing so much anime, and what else I like about the Netflix anime is it is so gay. Like, it's like the gayest love stories of men, and it's just awesome.
Yeah.
But in this cartoon, everybody dies. And they build this character to just this beautiful human that loves so much, same sort of thing. And, you know, everybody dies. It's just so well done. And but I like to me, it's good. It's because it's definitive. I know it's ended.
Yeah.
It's like 6 Feet Under, the TV show, the HBO show.
yeah.
At the end of 6 Feet Under, you know the story of everybody, and everybody's story ends, and you know it's done, you know what's happened, and I really like that.
Nothing left hanging, right?
No,
you don't have to
yeah.
like wonder about.
Yeah.
One show that did do that in an awful, cruel way was, I don't know if you remember the last episode of The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah, I liked it.
Me too. That left an impression on me too, because you do, but it kind of counters what you're just saying, because you are kind of in some way always thinking about what actually did happen.
Yes.
I think you can interpret it in a way where you're like, oh, he's dead for sure, which I think, again, is the point. You know, everyone
Right.
can see it their own way, and I love when creators give you that, you know, just leave it up to your interpretation. But sometimes, sometimes a good finality is also nice and satisfying.
Yeah, it's like a good album, though, too. You kind of trying to interpret what it is or what it could be, same sort of thing. But I liked, it worked for me, that scenario worked The Sopranos, because the world that was created was so big, and you could, in your mind, go so many places with it. So that was, you know, whereas like a show like 6 Feet Under, it was really quite contained to 5 characters. That's it. Whereas The Sopranos was, you know, New York, New Jersey as characters alone, which is these endless, timeless stories, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
Is there anything that has sort of carried you through like a dark time in entertainment, whether it is a TV show or a movie or even like a music album or something?
Oh, I mean, a music album, yeah.
Like one that really sticks out, like you were super depressed during this time.
Yeah.
Or super something, and you put this album on and it kind of saved you.
Okay, if you look behind you, you can't see it, never mind, but behind Amir, where he's sitting, because we're in my living room.
We are?
Yes, and that's my entertainment stand. You're on planet Earth.
Whoa.
This is Canada.
Okay.
And behind you is a picture of the 3 plugs, plug 1, 2, and 3, so De La Soul.
Oh.
And it's the Balloon Mind State album. And the Balloon Mind State album sticks with me and will for my whole life, because when I left a small town called Barhead, Alberta, to move to Red Deer to really start taking music seriously, I moved there with a producer friend who we ended up getting signed to a major label, Raucous Records. Like, it turned out to be a thing. But I moved to Red Deer to really focus on music. But when I left Red Deer, I was leaving a horrible, like, that was the tail end of being homeless, as we talked about earlier. So, you know, I wasn't in a good place. I was doing lots of drugs, hanging out with people that I shouldn't have been hanging out with. Like, I was doing drugs in vehicles with people that wanted to fight me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was that kind of scenario. So I was like, you know, I'm going to take music seriously. I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to move to Red Deer with Justin Crates, and we're going to do this. And that's what I did. And for the first 3 months, I moved into my Oma's basement. The first 3 months I moved to Red Deer, I listened to the Balloon Mind State, and I walked for just hours. And it was a cassette, and I just listened to it over and flip sides and flip over and over and over. And I know every skit, every line on that tape. But that was a transition for me from like leaving a horrible childhood into like this whole new world. And so the Balloon Mind State by De La Soul, rest in peace, Dave Trugoy, is an album that sticks with me.
So when you listen to the album today, does it take you back?
Oh, every time.
Yeah. I love how music does that.
Yeah. Even right now, I'm like playing Ego Trip, the song Ego Trip in my mind. Yeah. So it's a great. You got one? I can't believe I just remember that too. By the way, that wasn't planned for the show.
That's really cool.
That memory just came back to me.
That's awesome. I don't know about music. I mean, there were actually nothing that's as profound or as deep as yours emotionally. But I just remember a time where I was in my late teens, like between 17 and 20, when wasn't really having a lot of fun living at home anymore. There was a lot of pressure from my parents, not really any direct pressure, but just living around them. And I just remember there being several CDs, Billy Talent 2, which is their second album,
Good album.
and a Metric album called Live It Out. And I just remember times where I would come back home after work, turn off the lights in my bedroom. I had a Sony disc Walkman. I would have bought these CDs from like an HMV. I would just put them in, put my headphones in, and lay back in my bed and just get lost in the music. And that was those are the times that I remember where I'm just like sort of in the zone, you know?
Yeah. There's that zone. It's like a runner's high. I guess you could describe it if you want to relate to it, because I've got the runner's high before.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's this incredible focus and
been
this just
there.
clarity. It's almost like, I guess, it feels meditative. I guess it is.
It does,
in a
yeah.
way,
Almost like a Zen-like state
Yeah,
in
yeah,
some way.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so what do you want to talk about next week, Amir?
Well, we didn't really talk about my fears of a black hole swallowing the universe,
No.
preventing me from reconciling with my dad. So maybe I'll just apply some mascara.